don't know nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my soul in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fight mightily.
Waiting on your house shot. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady learning.
Call Allah Yahweh, Shema Mashiach, woman like O.F.I. First and foremost, we give all praise and glory and honor to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh, the God of the children of Israel, the ruler and creator of the whole world and everything that's in it. To the 12 tribes that scattered abroad, greetings. Those who are standing 10 toes down in this truth, enduring through all of the trials and tribulations, right? Striving to perfection, to be perfect and make their calling and election sure. All praise to the Most High God, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. It's heating up. Got my head itching over here, y'all. It's heating up in the prophecies as we see, Iran dropped the bombs targeting U.S. Navy bases, Army bases, and a lot of different things of that nature, right? But tonight, we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of what we call law and order, right? Law and order. The problem among our people is that there is no order. And we don't follow the law. We quick to follow the laws of the land, the laws of the government, faster, I would say, than we follow the laws of our God, Yahweh. So, getting into this, rebellion against the law, cultural degradation, and the fulfillment of the curse prophesied in Deuteronomy 28. The truth is, as a race, as a whole, we hate law and order. We don't like things to be done decently in order. We don't like keeping the laws. We don't like following laws. We don't like following direction. So that's what we're going to get into tonight through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So there's 3 categories of Yahweh's law. Now you're not going to see explicitly outlined in the scriptures for the most part. You're not going to see it says, well, this is the moral law. Right. Well, this is the moral law. You're not gonna say, well, this is also the sacrificial law, or this is these different categories of law. You're not gonna see that. All right. But we see Torah, which is Torah, is not one vague concept, right? Of law. There's different categories, for lack of a better word, of law, statutes, and commandments that we got to follow. So moving on with that, we'll notice that there's civil law. Civil law goes into how I treat my brother, all right? Not internally how I treat myself, right? Or what type of morals or standards that I adhere to. But civil law is more of how I treat my fellow brother, how I treat my fellow sister, how I treat other Israelites, all right? Interpersonal justice, neighborly conduct, and community order among Israelites. You get a couple of what we would call civil law. Leviticus 19 and 13. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Now, you got to understand, this is etiquette. How you would talk about, civics, as they would say, civics. Even in certain colleges, they have classes on civics, right? Let me get this real quick. Civics. And we're not talking about Honda Civic, right? Civics. Civics is the study of the rights, responsibilities, and duties of citizenship, focusing on how government functions and how citizens can actively participate in democracy. So this is civics according to the world's definition. Now, a couple of key things to replace out: the study of the rights, responsibilities, and duties of citizenship. So in a biblical context or narrative, the duties of the children of Israel to interact and how we treat one another, right? Focusing on how government functions. Well, what is our government? Our laws are established upon the Torah, right? And how citizens can actively participate in democracy. What is the government, right, of the Most High? It will be Christ and his rulership and the laws, statutes, and commandments that fall underneath that theocracy, right? Which we know eventually is going to be a one world government, right? With that one world government being everybody serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. So that's very important to know. So we shouldn't be robbing and defrauding our brothers. Nowadays, it's a big thing about, hitting licks, scamming, and things of that nature, getting over on brothers, and catching a play, hitting a jug, whatever you want to call it. We shouldn't be into that. You should treat your brother and your sister as you would want yourself to be treated, right? Leviticus 19, 17 through 18. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. You should love your brother so much that if you see your brother or your sister in sin, a fellow Israelite, you should correct them. This goes back to civil law, how we treat one another, right? Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am Yahweh. So we see also too, the context of neighbor here, right, is the children of thy people. So if you are the children of, if you are the same seed line, then you are neighbors. That's the context of, in the law, love thy neighbor as thyself. When Christ is teaching this, he's teaching back to the law. Because like I said, like the Bible says, Yahweh Shai didn't come to do away with the laws or the prophets. He came to fulfill. Does that mean fulfill the law so it's done away? No, he said he's not come to do away. So all of his teachings are predicated on the foundation of the law. So even right here, we clearly see the children of thy people not holding grudges, right? Because if you're holding a grudge for something that someone did against you, that's your people, that can easily turn into hatred. And that hatred and strife could easily turn into violence, right? It could easily turn to treacherous behavior. It could easily turn into all type of sin that can manifest because of that hate that you have in your heart towards your brother. So once again, we're going over what you would call civic law, how I treat my brother, right? Deuteronomy 24 and 14. Thou shalt not oppress and hire a servant that is poor and needy. And we see this a lot of times in the world. Because someone may be of a low estate, people treat them bad. You have a respective person. The person who is rich or has some type of social clout or notoriety or is known or, maybe even physically in a shape or in better shape than someone else, right? People in society in America and in our culture tend to treat them better. Celebrities, let's say for an example, you may have somebody who's a so-called celebrity who has notoriety in the social framework of civilization, of communities, who are more have more followers, right? Have more popularity, for lack of a better word. Those people are oftentimes treated better and put on a pedestal. That's not biblical, right? It says, thou shalt not oppress and hire a servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. Now, a lot of people get this twisted, right? Strangers, which we'll bring out a lesson on that pretty soon, Lord willing. There's multiple contexts of strangers. So you got strangers like Gar as well. And then you got, strangers that are Israelites, but that weren't literally dwelling in the land. And another thing that people have to realize, the Most High's law is so perfect. When you see certain things like this, it also is talking about future tense, right? Shalom, shalom, Christian monarchy, the Trojan horse of America. I don't know what you're talking about. It's no Christian monarchy, right? So going back to it, when you get into the whole classification of servants, there's more, or strangers, right? If you talk about an Israelite who is not living in the land, or who comes back, or who's joining from a distant land, you can't treat your brother in a different type of way or oppress them because they're poor and they're needy. Because even the scriptures say that the Most High God will plead the cause of the poor and the needy, right? And there are those that are mightier than them, right? I'm going to give this a precept too. In the book of Ecclesiastes. A second. I'm going into Sirach 5, and Ecclesiastes 5 and 8, right? It says, the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 8, if thou seest the oppression of the poor, and violent perverting of judgment, and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter. So it's telling you that there are times that you're going to see people oppressing the poor, right? Don't be surprised at that, right? For he that is higher than the highest regarded, and there be higher than they, right? So when it goes into that, it's saying there's a hierarchy. Anytime that you see oppression and things like this going on in communities, in society, they have to, especially when you're oppressing God's chosen people or the poor that are in a lower state, the Most High God is their judge. The Most High God is their protector. And that's why it also goes into, in the book of Ecclesiasticus, in the book of Sirach, in terms of, I believe that, is that Sirach, it might be the 2nd chapter. I'll try to pull the precept up, but it's going into also not oppressing the poor, because if the poor cries out to the Most High against you, you're going to be in big trouble, man. The Most High is going to hear his cry. So this is going back once again into not oppressing a servant or poor needy. And this can also go into an employee. Let's say you may be a business owner, you might be a boss, you may be in a position of authority, even in your daily job or something, right? So you may be oppressing someone who's in a lower position. So there's multiple folds that these precepts can be applied to, right? Telling us how to govern our relationships and how to treat one another. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto Yahweh, and it be sin unto thee. So we see in the context as well, man, if you have somebody working for you, and I own my own business, I fell into victim with this before, you might have someone working for you and you forget to pay them, and it may be an honest thing, right? Like, the day kind of got ahead of you, you forgot to pay them, and now it's sundown. I ran into this a couple times where we didn't get, we don't do automatic payroll, right? So on some not employees, but some W-9 workers, right, who are more like work for hire on a contract, they may end their work and we may pay them for the week. And that Friday comes, they leave the office, I get to moving around doing other things, and I forget to send them their payment, and I get home, getting ready for the Shabbat, and then it's sundown, and I'm like, dang, I didn't send the brother his payment. And that would actually be going into sin, because the sun has now gone down and I didn't pay that brother his wages. And Lord forbid that brother cry out to the Most High against me, right? So now obviously in the context of this is being more intentional, of saying, look, you have you're withholding willingly. You're like, you know what? Almost kind of with a grudge or with some sort of wicked agenda. Let's tag us. Wow, you're withholding the wages. And you got to think, a lot of people depend on those wages for their well-being. whether it's to eat, whether it's to get food, which is eating, clothing, shelter, certain type of obligations that they may have to try to sustain themselves. So you want to take all of these things and keep them in mind, Lord willing, as you are moving around and trying to deal righteously, because civics also goes into righteousness, how we deal with one another. So Deuteronomy 25 and 13 through 16, thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Now what this is going into is, in the ancient days, a lot of things were done on scales. So let's say that if I wanted to buy a shekel's weight of grain, right? You may put the shekel on the scale and you may put the grain on the other side as an example and try to weigh it out. But if I have an unjust weight or balance, right, and I'm kind of tricking the scale, I'm gaming the system. Now I'm giving you less because I put a heavier weight on there, right? Or it's like the other way around. Or you're trying to beat me. I'm trying to beat you. I put a lighter weight on there than the actual shekel weight. And now I'm giving you less because the lighter weight is weighing down the opposite balance of whatever I have on this side. So it's basically going into don't be fraudulent, straight up and down. Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight. Talking about being fair, being honest, doing honest business. A perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that the days may be lengthened in the land which Yahweh thy God giveth thee. For all that do such thing, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto Yahweh thy God. So you don't want to be moving and scamming people, right? That's not dealing righteously. And because unrighteous dealing, right? 1 second, I want to get this real quick. In the book of because basically it's saying the unrighteous dealings, a kingdom is translated unto another people, right? I'm gonna get this quick precept. Let's get second. 1 second. Sirach 10 and 8 is what I'm looking for. It's the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And you got to think all of these things happen because of unrighteousness. So you definitely don't want to be dealing in unrighteousness and getting riches by deceit. A lot of people get the bag in an unrighteous way. You got so many things that you can get into to make a dishonest living. You hear people in the ancient days say, hey, I just want to make an honest living. But you have a lot of people also who make unrighteous livings. Drug dealing, prostitution, robbery, extortion, murder, fraud, scamming. And you got to think it's a culture now that is going around in terms of even our communities called swiping, right? The swiping culture, people scheming and scamming. You don't want to get caught up in that type of lifestyle because that's not dealing civilly, right? People say, let's be civil. Civics are civil law. It's how you treat and deal with one another. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, and a perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that the days may be lengthened in the land which Yahweh thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things and all that do unrighteously are an abomination of Yahweh. So you definitely don't want to be dealing in unrighteous means, right? So the judgments, all right, mishpatim. Exodus chapter 21 through 23 contains the full, what we would call civil code, restitution for theft, property law, treatment of servants, the principles of eye for eye, tooth for tooth, is as far as proportional justice, not revenge. Because remember, when we read up here in Deuteronomy 24, I know that was Deuteronomy, my bad. Leviticus 19:17, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. So avenge goes into revenge as well. You don't want to have that spirit of revenge. Vengeance is the Lord's, or bearing that grudge. So when we go into that eye for eye and tooth for tooth, it goes into righteous judgment and proportional justice according to the law. Let's say you stole something from somebody. That's not proportional justice according to the law to be put to death, right? So let's that's what that's going into, right? These laws govern how one Israelite interacts with another Israelite in daily life. So these are everyday laws and codes of conduct as the children of Israel, as God's chosen people. All right. Moving on. Moral law, how I uphold the commandments internally. So moral law, the difference in between civil law and moral law in context is civil law more deals with how we deal with each other, Israelite to Israelite. Moral law is what are my standards of conduct and what is my moral fabric internally? Like, how do I deal with internal things? What are my standards, right? Internal righteousness, the commandments that govern the heart, which is the mind, and personal holiness. Because the scriptures say, be ye perfect. Let me get this real quick. And that perfect, when Yahushua is teaching, Matthew 5:48, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. So we are supposed to be striving for perfect morality, perfect thought, perfect actions, perfect deeds, a perfect understanding of righteousness and practicing righteousness, right? According to the perfection of the law. So these are things that we definitely want to take heed to, right? So Exodus 21-17, I'm gonna summarize. I'm not gonna bring up the whole passage, right? And God Yahweh spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. Jumping to verse 7. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Verse 12. Honor thy mother and thy father. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet, so forth and so on. These are all moral laws. Now, obviously, some of these within morality goes and crosses over into what we would call civil law, how we deal with one another, but it still goes to morality as far as how you value and uphold the law within your own mind to govern your relationships, how you deal with others external outside of yourself, if that makes sense. Deuteronomy 6:5-7. And thou shalt love the Lord Yahweh thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. Basically, this is where we get to the best of your abilities from. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, in your mind. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And this just cut me right here, y'all. Because I even have to do a better job of teaching my children. Sometimes I filter out things. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's me. They're not ready for that. Or don't really focus too much. I don't really focus too much all the time on how important always reminding them of the words of the law. Yes, we do our best, Lord willing, to live a life according to the law, but it's also very important to read it to them so that they can internalize it through the Spirit, right? Because a lot of things, sometimes things may go over children's head. You may show them certain things, but by not explaining it and breaking it down to them concretely in a way that they can understand what they're actually seeing, it might not be as effective, right? Reading on. And thou shalt teach them diligently. When you do something diligently, it's repetitively, it's intentionally and intensely unto thy children, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in the house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. So it's basically saying you should always be teaching your children. You know, there's no situation where the law, statutes, and commandments should not be being applied. Psalms 119 and verse 11. Thy words have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. So this goes again to your moral laws, right? Your morality, your internal self, hiding them in the heart, and the heart is in the mind. So you want to store up the precepts in the codes of conduct that the Most High requires of the children of Israel, and you want to put them in your mind. And that goes into meditating on the word as well. Matthew 5 and 28. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her in his heart, in his mind. Because morality, you want to be in a position through the Holy Spirit where you can cast down those wicked imaginations, and you can bring every thought into the captivity and obedience of a Mashiach or Malak Yahushai. So therefore, because as it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you walking around thinking about committing adultery, then eventually those thoughts are going to lead to actions. And now you're going to physically end up committing adultery. Strongly led to believe. So Yahushua is teaching to get a hold on your mind, right? To cast down those wicked imaginations and bring every thought into the captivity and obedience of Mashiach, woman like Yahushua. So Yahushua expanded the moral law in Matthew 5, showing that the commandments are not just external actions, but internal states of the mind. What is your mental state? Your thought process, right? Your mind state. Attuning your mind to be intentional, right? Even looking with lust is adultery. Even hatred without cause is murder. Why? Because you know that hatred can stir up and can build up spirits, where then eventually happens? You go in and you murder somebody. You murder your brother. You murder your sister. So it's very important to also, get your mind right. And so many of us have bad minds. The way we reason and rationale things are not biblical, not biblically righteous. Let me say it that way, right? Ceremonial law goes into how we dress, for an example, and what holy days we keep. Not holidays, but what holy days we keep. So you dress, feast days, dietary law. Salakia for the yawn and long night last night. First night of Purim where we was turned up. And then early morning, all praise to the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So Salakia, I'm a little tired, but the work must go on. So ceremonial law goes into that, like, how we dress, what we eat, our dietary laws, our holy days, and things of that nature. Numbers 15 and 30 through 38. Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them that they make them fringes, look, got fringes, in the borders of their garments throughout their generations. So we should be wearing fringes, y'all, throughout our generations, right? And it reads, and that they put upon the fringe of the border a ribbon of blue. Now, if you look at my fringes, right, I got the fringe, you see, but then you also see the ribbon of blue. You gotta have that ribbon of blue. I hope everybody can see that. You got the fringe, but you also have to have the ribbon of blue, according to the law. Back to our ceremonial law, right? and that they put upon the fringe of the borders of a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahweh and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your God. So this is going into, once again, the moral law. I meant the ceremonial law, Salaki. Deuteronomy 22:5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Now, I know a lot of people, they kind of get this messed up and they say, well, look, there's women pants. But we don't see that, because even when you go into the history of breeches and things of that nature and what pants morphed into, that all came from the women's rights movement. All right. Our women in ancient time weren't wearing pants. If you go to a bathroom, this is how you can tell the difference between a women's bathroom and a man's bathroom or restroom, is because the sign of the woman has a dress on. The sign of the men has damn pants on, right? So you don't want to be wearing, if you're a woman, what pertained to a man. That's why our wives, our daughters, they wear skirts, they wear dresses. Those pertain to a woman. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto Yahweh thy God. Now, peep this. A lot of times we go and people only focus on this. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto Yahweh thy God. But it's not just saying the men that wear dresses or a woman's garment are abomination, but it's also saying the women that wear a men's garments or the things that pertain to a man are also an abomination. So you don't want to be an abomination to the Most High God. It's all for a man to be wearing dresses, and it's all for sisters to wear pants, straight up and down. Now, we will say this. Sisters can wear leggings, right? You may see sisters with leggings on and things of that nature, right? And even, you know what? I'm not going to get too caught up on, if you're in a, sometimes you may be in a house, sister may throw on some shorts or something like that, right? But wearing that out in public and things of that nature, no, that's off, right? Salaki. Moving on. Deuteronomy 22:11. Thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. Now, some people teach that this is the doctrine of mixed fabric, right? Now, what it is the doctrine of mixed fabric, but there's a context to it. It says, you shall not wear a garment of diverse sorts, of woolen and linen together. Of wool and linen together. I want to show y'all something too that I found before. Did you know that, look, when wool and linen mixed together, lower frequencies. Hold on. Now this is gonna blow your mind, right? But look. Now this, they say the zero frequency effect, right? Now Yahweh been telling us not to mix woolen and linen together. Now, some people, when they try to scoff us when we go out to teach the word, and they say, well, y'all talking about them mixed fabrics you got on right now? Is that mixed fabrics you got on? Are you talking about you keep the law of God, but you wearing mixed fabrics? No, it's not against the laws of God to wear mixed fabric. It's against the law of the Most High God to wear fabric that's mixed, that's woolen and linen weaved together. Now watch this. Now this says, based on theories of fabric vibration, mixing linen and wool together is said to cancel out their individual high energetic frequency, causing them to drop to zero. Both materials are believed to resonate at around 5,000 megahertz individually, but their opposing energetic flows, left to right versus right to left, nullify each other. Now, I've never tested this out and things of that nature, but just think of the law tells us that we shouldn't wear mixed fabrics of woolen and linen together. And here even science, so-called science shows us that it's a theory based on the vibrational pattern of the the fabrics, because everything is moving at a vibration. That one, it vibrates 5,000 megahertz left to right in the wavelength, and one right to left, so they cancel each other out in the properties. So, like I said, I haven't done the scientific research, but that is something that we've seen before. But nonetheless, that's why the Most High says, well, I'm not saying that's why, but the Most High teaches us not to wear mixed fabric of wool and linen together. And once again, this is going into our ceremonial laws. Leviticus 19, 27 through 28. Ye shall not round the corners of your head, neither shall thou mar the corners of thy beard. Now, you can't be digging into your beard and cut your beard off. Well, you can trim it low, but you can't cut it off. You follow what I'm saying? So this is a part of our ceremonial laws, how we dress. What are our customs of taking care of our bodies and things of that nature, right? You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am Yahweh. So it goes into tattoos. And look, brother, I got some tattoos, but it's before I came into the truth, before I learned the knowledge. I repented from these tattoos, and I'm damn sure, Lord forbid, we'll ever get another tattoo again. So that even goes into that, our ceremonial laws, right? You shouldn't be printing marks upon you. Now, people try to say that this is saying, don't make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you for the dead, but it doesn't say that here. So it's just showing you can't print marks upon you, or you shouldn't be cutting yourself for the dead, and that's a real thing. You got to think a lot of these other nations I'm going to show y'all this, used to go into bodily mutilation for the dead. Look, bodily mutilation for the dead. So, corpse mutilation is the intentional post-mortem alteration of a body classified as active, perpetuated by a person, or passive, environmentally decay. Hold on one second. I don't want bodily mutilation of yourself for the dead. Here it is. The practice of self-mutilation or bodily cutting as a sign of mourning for the dead was a common ancient pagan ritual and is explicitly prohibited in the Bible. This was part of a set of laws given to the Israelites to distinguish themselves from the idolatrous practices of the surrounding nations. And a lot of this was done in African cultures as well. Look, it's not letting me, hold on, let me see if it, let me show these pictures. Bear with me. All right, I guess it's blocking me from showing these pictures. I don't know why. But yeah, but it's something that, something that people used to do. Here's a picture of it. Self-harming scars. This is a mild picture, but people used to cut themselves for the dead. Pagan rituals and things of that nature. So, the Most High told us as the children of Israel that we shouldn't be getting down with these type of practices of self-mutilation and things of that nature, right? Because we are holy, The ceremonial law also includes laws of, clean and unclean food, appointed times, holy days, Leviticus 23, which we're about to get into. These are the Modayim, Yahweh's specific times of gathering and worship, not the man-made holidays of the nations. There's Valentine's Day, right? You got, I believe in March is so-called St. Patrick's Day. I think that's Patrick's Day. Is that in March? Yeah, look, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. We're not supposed to be partaking in these pagan rituals. The Most High God didn't tell you to keep St. Patrick's Day or Christmas or Halloween or Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day. All of these things actually go back to a lot of pagan practices and customs, all right? So Yahweh appointed times that we are supposed to acknowledge and gather together in righteousness. Like we just kept, matter of fact, at sundown tonight in the Purayim, In the Purim, you know, we had day 1 of Purim on the 1st. On the 28th of February, we celebrated the destruction of Nicanor, which was ordained in the Maccabees, right? So you got these pagan world holidays, right, which are man-made traditions rooted in paganism, like we just showed with St. Patrick's Day. New Year's Day, January 1st, the origin, Roman god Janus. It was a Babylonian Roman calendar worship. You got Valentine's Day, February 14th, Lupercalia, fertility rites. Why you think you had bunnies laying eggs? Pagan fertility festival. Easter, going to Ishtar, right? Or Ashtoreth as well, bunny laying eggs. Pagan goddess of fertility, eggs and rabbits, fertility symbol. You got Halloween, October 31st. The origin, Samhain, a Celtic death festival. Communications with the dead and necromancy. When the scriptures explicitly, right, or verbatimly tell us, don't be a necromancer, right? I'm gonna get this real quick. In the law, we get this in Deuteronomy 18. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18. It says, I'm gonna read up a little bit. 18, and 10. There shall, verse 9, when thou art come into the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, right, on some child sacrifice and stuff, or that useth divination, or an observer of time, or an enchanter, or an witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto Yahweh. And because of these abominations, Yahweh thy God doth drive them out from before thee, right? Thou shalt be perfect with Yahweh thy God. And we just read this in Matthew as well. Yahweh Shai quoting this, right? I believe it's Matthew the 10th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, you see necromancy was something that, and is something that we shouldn't be practicing or delving into at all, right? So bam, Halloween goes into necromancy, Celtic death festival, right? Show y'all this. So when you go into Celtic as well, right? Same people who celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Celtic people, Irish, right? Look at this. So Celtic, same thing as Celtics, you know, Boston Celtics. You got the Irish people, right? You want to stay away from them pagan festivals and things of that nature. All right, moving on. Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, origin, colonization celebration, not a biblical commandment. It's actually the celebration of them colonizing, raping, robbing, and murdering, and stealing the land of our Gadite and our Reubenite brothers and sisters. St. Patrick's Day, origin, Catholic saint worship, veneration of a Roman Catholic figure on one side. On the other side goes into Celtic folklore as well, right? Mardi Gras, Catholic pre-Lent, debauchery before Catholic fasting. So this whole Mardi Gras and things of that nature is wickedness. It goes back to pagan rituals and basically going out and having sex and doing all type of crazy things before you fast and repent. Mother's Day, Father's Day, commercial invention, man-made, not a commandment of Yahweh. And actually, if you do the, we did a lesson on this. Brothers brought a lesson out on the actual origins of Mother's Days and Father's Day. Actually goes back to pagan rituals as well, right? Way back to ancient Babylon and things of that nature. And 4th of July, American nationalism, patriotism for the captor's nation. We're not Americans, right? We may live in America and be American classified by citizenship, but we're in the country and of the people who killed our people, raped and robbed our ancestors, who's still killing us today. So why would we be celebrating and picking up their heritages and their customs? Now, on the contrary, in righteousness, on Deuteronomy 23, you're going to see some high holy days and convocations that the Most High God commanded us as the children of Israel to keep. So you got the weekly Shabbat, Leviticus 23:3, which is the 7th day of the week. You got Passover or Pesach, which you see Leviticus 23:5, the 14th day of the first month. We just entered into our 12th month, which is the month of Adar. So next month will be, or next new moon will be the first month of the year, and that'll be our Hebraic New Year, where we go into celebrating the Passover on the 14th day, which the Passover is the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So you have on the Feast of Unleavened Bread as well, Leviticus 23:6-8. Then you have the first fruits, which is basically Pentecost, right? First was like first fruits, day after the Shabbat. Then you have Feast of Weeks, 50 days after the first fruits, right? 50 is Pentecost, right? You have Day of Trumpets, the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, the first day of the 7th month, which is a high new moon. You have the Day of Atonement, which is the 10th day of the 7th month. You have the Feast of this Day of Atonement is a day of fasting, and where all of the children of Israel are commanded to fast. So the Day of Atonement is a very high holy day where we fast as a nation and cry out, right? Now notice all of these three are all in the 7th month. So you got the Day of Trumpets, right? Or the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, which is a new moon, a high new moon. You have the Day of Atonement right here, which is on the 10th day, so 9 days and a wake up later. You have on the 15th to the 22nd day of the 7th month, Sukkot, which means booths or tents. It's the Feast of Tabernacles. We can find out Leviticus 23:34-43, where we dwell in tents. Then we have Purayim or Purim, which is the 14th to 15th day of the 12th month of Adar, which we literally just before the sun went down, we were on, it was the 15th day of the 12th month. Now we're on the 16th day because the day starts at the evening. The next day starts when the sun goes down. And we have the Feast of the Dedication, which is the 25th day of the 9th month, which is also called Hanukkah or Hanukkah, as they say in the English tongue. You also have, what's not on here, the destruction of Nicanor as well. Is we just kept that on the 13th day of the 9th month of Adar, right? So, Esther 9:20-22, and Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, who Xerxes, both nigh and far, to establish this among them. So certain feast days, like when you get into the Day of Atonement, not the Day of Atonement, Slaki, that's in Leviticus 23rd chapter. But when you get into Purayim, which is also known as Purim, or when you get into the Feast of the Dedication, those were decreed through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai in celebration of the Most High God delivering the children of Israel from their oppressors and captives, right? Esther was decreed during the Persian captivity, and we have during the Maccabean revolt, during the Greek captivity is when was declared, two things. One was declared the destruction of Nicanor, as well as when was declared Hanukkah, or the Feast of the Dedication. So those three you're not going to find in the law, but we see Yahweh Shai kept, right? We definitely see, right, Yahweh Shai kept the Feast of the Dedication as well in John 10:20, which we'll get down here. But that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar and the 15th day of the same yearly. So these are annual feast days, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, because there was a hit put out on them to exterminate us on some genocide type stuff, and from mourning and say good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another and gifts to the poor. So these are things that we are commanded to do as the children of Israel. All right. You shouldn't be keeping Christmas, celebrating Christmas and things of that nature, even birthdays. That's not in our culture. Now we acknowledge the respective day of our birth. That's how we keep, and we thank the Most High God for another year. That's how we keep track of how old we are. But in terms of going and making a celebration out of it dedicated to that day, that actually goes back to satanic worship. And even the birthday cake actually goes down back to Artemis. I'm gonna show y'all this real quick. Artemis, right? The moon god. Look, Artemis right here. The goddess of the hunt and the moon god. And look, matter of fact, that's even, why do you think they named the new NASA space shuttles and all this Artemis? See that? Artemis moon program, because it's in pagan rituals after the moon god Artemis. Look, Artemis, moon god, goddess Artemis, daughter of Zeus and Leto and twin sister of Apollo, is the powerful Greek goddess of the moon, the hunt, wilderness, and childbirth. So this is why the birthday cake is tied to Artemis, because your birth, the day you were born, they would dedicate that child's birth to the goddess Artemis, right? And the goddess of the hunt, because a lot of hunting happens under the moon. You follow what I'm saying? So she's supposed to be the goddess of the hunt and the goddess of the moon. She is a fierce virgin goddess wielding a silver bow to protect young women and wildlife. Known for her independent, sometimes vengeful nature, she is often depicted with a deer and associated with the moon's light. Now, this is also ritualistic Artemis the moon god on the birthday cake. Right. And that's why in the ancient times, the birthday cake was, it's round now, and you light candles, you're actually lighting those candles, making a ritual to Artemis, the moon god. Ancient Greeks honored Artemis, the goddess of the moon, by baking round honey-sweetened cakes to resemble the full moon. These cakes were adorned with lit candles to make them glow, a tradition held in temples during the 6th day of each lunar month, which is believed to be the origin of the modern birthday cakes. So the round shape represents the moon, while candles represent the moon's light. But like I said, a lot of these things are ritualistic and go into pagan worship. So that's why we don't get down with the birthdays, the birthday parties, the birthday cakes, and things of that nature, right? John 10:22 through 23 also goes into, and it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. So it's showing you the time where the Most High God had raised up and put the Spirit on brothers to ordain the feast of the dedication, when we dedicated the temple back from being profane during the Hellenization and the Greek captivity. And we see Yahushua, who the world calls Christ, is keeping the feast of the dedication in the winter, not Christmas, not his birthday. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. And Yahushua, or Jesus, walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. So we see that Yahushua himself, who the world calls Christ, kept the feast of the dedication. This feast commemorates the rededication of the temple by Judas Maccabeus after it was defiled by Antiochus Epiphanes, right? Recorded in 2nd Maccabees, the 10th chapter, verses 1 through 8, and also in 1st Maccabees, chapter 6, I believe, as well. If Yahushua kept it, or Jesus kept it, we should also be keeping the feast of the dedication. So you definitely want to look into that. Now, the feast of the dedication is not necessarily found in what you would consider the Torah, but we still see Yahushua kept it, right? All praise to the Most High. 2nd Maccabees 10, 1 through 8. Now Maccabeus and his company, the Lord guiding them. Now look, the Lord guiding them, recovered the temple and the city. Deliverance. But the altars which the heathen had built in the open street and all the chapels they pulled down, they tore down all of the pagan Greek Hellenistic altars that they had built, that the Greeks had built when they occupied Jerusalem. And having cleansed the temple, they made another altar. And striking stones, they took fire out of them and offered a sacrifice after 2 years and set forth incense. So it was 2 years before they had been able to make a sacrifice on the altar because it was defiled by the Greeks, and set forth incense and lights and shewbread. When that was done, they fell flat down and besought the Lord that they might come no more into such trouble. But if they sin any more against him, that he himself would chasten them with mercy, and that they might not be delivered unto the blasphemous and barbarous nation. Our people calling out saying, Lord, man, please, Lord, don't bring us into these captivities anymore. And Lord, if we sin against you, just you chastise us in your, not in your hot displeasure, Lord, but in your mercy, with your mercy and long suffering. But don't put us back under the captivity of these damn heathen, right? Now, upon the same day that the strangers, the heathen, the Greeks, profaned the temple, on the very same day it was cleansed again, even the 25th day of the same month. So it's the 25th day of the 9th month, which is Caslu. And they kept the 8 days with gladness, as in the Feast of Tabernacles, remembering that not long before they had held the Feast of Tabernacles, when as they wandered in the mountains and dens like beasts. Therefore they bare branches and fair boughs and palms also, and sang psalms unto him that had given them good success in cleansing his place, that being Yahweh. They ordained also by a common statute and decree. See, the Most High put the Spirit on the nation of Israel, on the brothers and the sisters to gather together, and the brothers to make a decree as a nation that every year those days, being the 25th day of the 9th month, should be kept of the whole nation of the Jews. So, that's how we got that in terms of our back to our ceremonial laws, right? So you got to understand, a part of the moral laws, the civil laws, and the ceremonial laws is not leaning to your own understanding, but doing what is right in, not in your own eyes, but according to the law, statutes, and commandments. So every man did that which was right in his own eyes. We see that in the book of Judges, right? That, Yashala, when they didn't have a king, they damn was winging it. Everybody doing whatever they wanted to do, all right? Leaning on to their own understanding. Judges 17:6. In those days, there was no king in Israel, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes, right? So every man did that which was right in his own eyes, not in the eyes of Yahweh. In the eyes of Yahweh is according to the laws, the statutes, and commandments. So this is the spirit of lawlessness that we was talking about. When the people reject Torah, which is Torah, they become a law unto themselves. And we know absolute wickedness, man. If you don't have the standard that's been put into place by the Most High, you're definitely going to be in wickedness and doing wicked deeds, right? So with that, we want to give all glory, praises, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, Like Yahushai, to the 12 tribes that scattered abroad. Greetings. Most High willing, this was edifying and going over the 3 types of law: the civil law, the moral law, and the ceremonial law. Kwam Yashab. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop in the chat. The link to this lesson. I'm going to drop it in the chat, the link to this lesson. Most High willing, brothers and sisters can jump in and be able to go over this lesson on your own as well. I did drop it in the chat to our learning platform, so you can go and click on it and tell us what you think. Trying to do more of the work. Utilizing this technology and things to turn a lot of the lessons that we have notes on and teachings into an interactive learning platform to go in depth, right? So with that, we give all glory, praise, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, woman like Yahushai. Happy belated Purim, Purayim. Stay 10 toes down. The prophecies are unfolding, and let's get it. Big bite chompers. Big bite chompers. The water. All praise to the Most High. The water. All praise to the Most High. Kwame Shalom.